All right, sixth grade, welcome back to Blood on the River, chapter 11. You guys, we are almost halfway through this book. I just want to give you a big snap out, pat on the back for making it through to 11 whole chapters of this book. You guys are awesome. All right, so things are getting exciting. We had Indian attack, very sad moment. James dies. Things are not going great. They are having problems. They have had problems. Let's just kind of recap. All right. We had problems in the Caribbean where it was so hot, people were dying. People were getting poisoned by the macanil tree. Master Wingfield and Captain Smith were arguing. Captain Smith almost got hung by the gallows. I mean, things have been going wrong. Things have been also going right? So Captain Smith is able to communicate with the Indians. That's positive. Samuel is learning how to work better with the other boys. All right, that's a positive thing. As we go on, we want to think about, because our big question is, what causes the most trouble, or what has the greater impact on the development of Jamestown? The social factors or the environmental factors? All right, both positive and negative. What's the biggest factor? What are the bigger factors that affect the development of Jamestown? Is it the social factors? Is it how conflicted the people are, or how well they work together? Or is it the environmental factors? Is it how well the food grows, or how much the rain affects the settlement? Which adds to the development of Jamestown more? The social factors or the environmental factors? And that's what we want to pay attention to throughout the rest of this book. All right, you guys, let's dive into chapter 11 and see how they recover after this major Indian attack. All right, let's get this going. Chapter 11. Hereupon the president was contented the fort should be palisadoed, the ordnance mounted, his men armed and exercised. William Simmons, editor, The Proceedings. And here we have a picture of what Jamestown will eventually look like. Remember, a palisade is a fortification. Look at this picture and tell me, what part of this picture is the palisade? What part is the fortification, the strengthening of this settlement? All right, just a little thought. Reverend Hunt kneels with me in the dirt in front of the altar. He puts words to the prayers I cannot speak. Please take James's soul into heaven with you, because he was just an innocent child. Then he lays a hand on my shoulder. Samuel, he says, you've been here a long time. Have you finished your prayers yet? I shake my head. How can I finish praying for forgiveness? It was my fault, I say. My throat feels dry as sand. I should have explained to him the danger of running to the ships. I should have been kinder to him so that he would trust me. I should have been able to grab him and pull him back into the tent. I should not have let go when he bit me. I had so many chances to keep James safe, and I failed at all of them. Reverend Hunt stands and reaches down a hand to pull me up. I take his hand reluctantly and rise. He looks into my eyes. When our Lord spoke of forgiveness, he did not only mean forgiveness of others. Sometimes we have to forgive ourselves. I swallow past a lump in my throat. Now go wash your face and see if there is any breakfast left. You won't be able to work if you don't eat. Reverend Hunt gives me a little push, and I leave the chapel. I trudge through the work of the day, sewing up holes in tents and mattresses, bringing water and food to our makeshift hospital where Dr. Watton tends to the wounded men, dumping more water on our wilting plants. Richard's eyes are red and swollen. I don't know what to say to him to make it any better. I don't think he wants to hear from me anyway. I wonder if Richard will ever forgive me for my meanness to James while he was alive and my failure to save him. That afternoon, Captain Smith, Captain Newport, and their party return. They say their Indian guide has acted strangely. He left them suddenly with no explanation. This made them suspicious that a raid was being planned, and so they sailed back to us as quickly as they could. They are dismayed to find that they were right. In the evening, the council calls a meeting to discuss our situation. I creep near the cabin where the council members are talking so that I can eavesdrop. These are not just disorganized people living in towns here and there, says Captain Newport. They are tribes within an empire. Their emperor is called the Powhatan. The people are the Powhatans. And the river we named the James River, they already call the Powhatan River. They are a kingdom of warriors. The boys are taught to use bow and arrow when they are 6 years old. Their mothers don't even give them breakfast until they have shot their targets in the morning. When the great chief Powhatan wants to conquer a new tribe, the warriors get the job done very quickly. There's a prophecy they told us about, says Master Percy. The bay we first entered on our way here, they call the Chesapeake Bay. There used to be a tribe, the Chesapeakes, living on its shores. The prophecy says that a threat to Chief Powhatan's empire will come from the Chesapeake Bay. When he heard this, he sent his warriors, and in one day they wiped out the Chesapeake tribe. There must have been 400 of them last night, says Captain Gosnold. If it had not been for the cannon scaring them off, they would have easily killed us all. Then in silence. No one wants to tell President Wingfield that he was wrong and Captain Smith was right about building a palisade, I think. President Wingfield, to his credit, had been at the forefront of the battle. Those who saw him said that he fired his musket even as an arrow went right through his beard. I hold my breath. Please, someone tell him we need to build a strong fort. All right, President Wingfield's voice breaks the silence. There will be watches, armed men every corner, in shifts throughout the day and night, and, he hesitates a moment, tomorrow we will begin construction of a tall palisade, with not so much as a crack between the posts. I let out my breath and creep away before anyone catches me listening. Fear makes us work fast. We fell trees and make them into palisade posts with wickedly sharp tips. We dig a trench in a large triangle around our tents and plant our posts so close together an arrow cannot get through. Each corner of the triangle is rounded like a half moon with a platform inside. We bring cannons from the ships and mount them on the platforms. We are making a fort like soldiers in a war. Thank goodness the sailors are still with us. They, along with our laborers, soldiers, and our other working men, are the ones with strength and speed to get the job done. If we had to depend on the gentlemen, many of whom still don't want to dirty their velvet, we would be at the mercy of the Indians for many more weeks. As it is, the natives mount small attacks every other day on any man or creature who strays too far from our guarded, half-built fort. They shoot Master Clovel while he's out hunting. He comes running back to the fort with arrows sticking out of him and dies soon after. They shoot and kill another man in the woods when he drops his slops to relieve himself. And they even shoot one of Captain Newport's dogs while she is sniffing after a rabbit. Captain Smith finds me using a hatchet to sharpen palisade post tips. He's holding a belt, sheath, sword, and armor. I recognize the sword. It has a C molded into the handle. It belonged to Master Clovel, whose grave I just helped dig. Samuel, do you think you could put some of that energy from your fists into learning to use a sword? Captain Smith asks. My hatchet stops in midair. Yes, sir, I say. Try not to sound too eager. You are, after all, apprentice to an officer, he says. It is time to begin your training. I lay my tools on the ground and wipe my hands on my slops. You're lucky, Captain. Oh, you're lucky, Captain Smith says. Master Clovel was a slight man. His belt and armor will fit you well, and they won't fit Henry or Abram or any of the other unarmed men who want them, I think. With arrows flying every day, weapons and armor are more coveted than gold. Captain, you're not taking my worker, are you? John Layden asks. He is the carpenter overseeing the building of the palisades. I'd better take him now and teach him a thing or two, so he'll live to work another day, Captain Smith says. John Layden nods, and I've got permission to leave. Master Clovel's armor is a little bit too big, but it fits well enough. I will grow into it. The breastplate makes me feel like I have a large chest. I rap my knuckles on it and admire the clang. No arrow can pierce this metal. The helmet is heavy. I feel like a soldier already. Will I have a musket too? I asked. First, you will learn to use a sword, Captain Smith says. I fasten the belt around my waist and pull the sword out of its sheath. The handle is smooth and cool, and the sword is heavy. It glints in the sun. I take in both hands and whip it through the air. It makes a sharp whoosh. Captain Smith begins my instruction. I want to think about the sword, but he tells me I must think about my feet and watch his feet as well. It is like dancing, he says, but I've never learned to dance, so it's all new to me. It is a dance of death with your opponent, he says. You mirror his steps until you see a weak spot, and then you lunge. He suddenly steps forward, knee bent, and I am stuck in his chest with his blade. I gasp and look down. Captain Smith laughs at my terrified expression. Did you forget you were wearing armor? I let my breath out in a rush. No, I lie. Um, you must block me. Don't let me enter your circle. Slowly, he goes again for a lunge. I think fast, swatting his sword with my blade, knock his off of its course toward my chest. Very good, he shouts. We pattern our steps in a slow dance, him giving me time to balance his movements with my own. He raises his eyebrows when he is about to strike, his signal to me to protect myself. I hear the satisfying clang as my sword knocks his away. We speed up, our feet moving more and more quickly. No time for thought now, only reaction. I am out of breath, sweating, our swords clanging, ringing out. He is always one step ahead of me, always quicker. I am tiring. I see a gap, my chance to enter his circle. I step forward, lunge. Suddenly there is a scraping, a pain in my hand, and my sword is wrenched from my grasp. It lands on the ground behind me. I stand there, unarmed, with Captain Smith's sword hovering just in front of my throat. I am defeated. But Captain Smith laughs. It takes a long time to learn to use a sword properly, Samuel. Go pick it up. I rub my sore fingers and move them until they feel better. Then I grasp the sword again, narrowing my eyes and concentrate. I will try again. Captain Smith moves slowly at first, giving me a chance to find my rhythm. Then he speeds up as before, and I follow. I put my mind aside and feel only my body stepping, moving. The dance of death sweeps us into its circle. Our swords clash and clang. My breath comes in short gasps. I see the opening. I lunge. My blade finds its mark, the tip pressed into Captain Smith's armor just above his heart. He holds up his hands, drops his sword. He speaks slowly. The student, he says gravely, has impaled the teacher. I begin to shake my head. I did not mean to anger him. Then he breaks into a broad smile. I wipe beads of sweat off my face. My hand is shaking. We will train every day, he tells me. Wear your armor whenever you leave the fort. The sword will be no match for flying arrows. But tomorrow, I will begin to teach you to use another weapon, one that is much more powerful than this sword. I nod calmly, but inside I'm excited. Tomorrow, I will learn how to use a musket. The end of chapter 11. Oh my gosh. They are busy, busy, busy. Well, they are being reactive, not so much proactive, but they are building a palisade. They're building that fence around the settlement, and Samuel is learning how to defend himself using a sword, getting some armor from his master, Captain Smith. How exciting. I wonder if he is really going to get to learn how to use a musket next, because that's what he really wants to use. All right, sixth graders, now it's time for some activities.